Today on Isolation Nation, Cory Dixon, actor, mental health advocate. Every time I hear his story, I'm shocked. Plus, Mitch Marner, part 2, which means I finally get to say these words. Previously on Isolation Nation. Hey Riggs, what'd you think of yesterday's show?
The kid was good. Didn't love the dog.
Why? I thought Zeus was awesome.
Whatever.
But Zeus is so cute.
Really? You flaunt your love for another dog right in front of me?
I was just saying, he's cute.
Well, I'm just saying, Mitch is a better owner. You like that?
Not so much.
Oh yeah, and also, your questions were crappy too. Nothing about the playoffs, playing with Matthews, no more Babcock.
Now, Brando would never have said that. Today on part 2, it's Mitch on the unique treatment available to Toronto Maple Leaf players when it comes to psychology. Plus, the pain of losing, and I'm not talking about on the ice, and the pressures of being a teenage star.
And I remember I was like sitting there for, I think it was like honestly 45 minutes with my parents trying to figure out a new signature.
And of course, more Zeus. That's right, Riggs.
And he's been snoring pretty loud these last couple nights. So.
Only one thing to do. Back to the crate for him.
You know, we had such a good time. We recorded this interview last week, and Mitch was great. And you know, like I have a habit of saying really good things about people, you know, who do the show because you know, when people take the time to do something that maybe doesn't benefit them, you know, I think it's always important to say thank you. It's like when someone gives you a gift, you should say thank you. And sometimes when you do that over and over again, it can sound either self-serving or it can be numbing, where you go, does he really mean it? And most of the time I do. And that's why, you know, we put the people on the show that we put on the show, because I know that they're good. I know that they're gracious, and I know that there's wisdom in their words. You know, Mitch is 23 years old. He turned 23 between the time we taped that, which was, I guess, a week ago, and today. And yet he's involved in a million different charities. He's got his own foundation. And it's the Mitch Marner Assist Fund, the Marner Assist Fund, and it's pretty special. It says that on his T-shirt. So without, I was going to say without further ado, but I don't know what the hell further ado actually means. So I'm going to say, let's get to the good stuff right now. This is Mitch Marner, part number 2. We'll pick it up where we left it off yesterday. Roll it, Phil. How's your dog?
He's great. He's great. He's sitting right now on the carpet beside Steph. Steph gave him a little bone, so he's just gnawing away on it. Okay,
well, you got to get him over, because I got my dog Wrigley here, and yeah. You know, I think you got to see Wrigley, and I want to see Zeus. Hey, Riggs, come here, buddy.
I'll go bring him to Zeusy. I don't know if he'll get up and
come here, Riggs.
5 seconds. Zeus.
Hey, come here, Riggs. Okay.
Steph, do you want to hold this? No, I guess I can actually go selfie cam with it.
Here, bud. Here, bud.
There he is, just mucking his bone.
Can you see Wrigley? No,
not yet. You gotta bring your camera down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he's going to jump up. It's not like I'm putting incentive on the table, but yeah, there is.
Yeah, Zeus is now too big to get held. I picked him up yesterday, and I was almost threw my back out. So,
there we go.
Who's that, Zeus?
Yeah,
he's got the bone going.
That's
so happy.
I'm shoveling cookies into his mouth just to keep him here, because that's what you got to do. You got to buy your dog. Sometimes you got to buy his love or his attention by giving him stuff.
Yeah. Today we're teaching him some new things. I'd say we're all. I don't know about new things, but we're just trying every day. Just keep his game up. So we're making him stay on his bed for a little bit. He was getting treated with bacon pieces, so he was just doing anything and everything to get them.
You were given your not real bacon?
Not me. Steph was. Steph was giving him some bacon pieces. So he was listening extraordinary good today.
So the trick you're now working on with him is that he lies on his mat or his couch?
He lies on his little bed. It's like right beside us, actually. It's just right there. But we just usually try and get him there, and then for his dinners or breakfasts or something, we put him on his bed, tell him to wait, and then we'll put his food down, and we'll give it about 30 seconds or so, and I'll blow a whistle. or I'll just whistle, I guess. And then that means that he can go and eat. So it's kind of just a patience game and seeing if he'll listen to it. But he's been great. He learns pretty quickly. Labs are very food motivated, as anyone in the lab knows. Anything with food, that they will listen very well. So he's been good with it.
Riggs, it's Mitch. Forget about Mitch. It's Zeus.
Yeah, Riggs is like, what are those cookies?
Yeah.
I don't want Mitch.
Yeah, come on. Go for it, boy. Okay, well, I guess he didn't want to look like a pig. Whoa, he's coming around to this side. And
Sneaking around?
Yeah. God, at least my dog should know where the camera is. And when the camera's on, hey, buddy, how much do you love?
Zeus is the same.
How much do you love your dog?
He's, you know what, really to this time, he's been great for multiple reasons. One, we get to take him outside. We have the excuse to take him for walks and everything like that. And two, actually, I don't know if Steph likes him a lot in bed, but I love him when he's in bed. He kind of leaves me alone, but in the mornings, he always comes up and cuddles with me a lot. But
it's
I guess
the best.
Yeah. Late, I think during the night, sometimes he'll hop up and he'll get real close to Steph, and he's been snoring pretty loud these last couple nights. So
it's so cute. This is when you love your dog. When no matter what they do, it's cute. It's like, oh my God, so cute. He's snoring.
Yeah.
Hey, Riggs, you're a good boy. Yeah, we'll have to meet Zeus one day. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this show we created during this COVID-19. We called it Isolation Nation because there's a whole nation of people that are isolated who are really struggling. And so it's all about the mental health. Like for instance, in your career, does a down in your career, or I know you and I were talking about losing our dog, I guess about a year and a half ago. Does that affect your mental health any more than just being sad does?
I think when I lost my dog, he was my family dog, but for that time, I still hung out with him a lot. Every time I came back from London, the summers I hung out with him all the time. Obviously it's very hard on you when you lose a loved one. I always called our dog a part of the family, as I'm sure you do too. Every dog owner or pet owner, I'd say, always calls whatever animal they got really part of the family. Whenever it passes away, it's really hard on the family and sad. And so the person that took it the hardest is always my mom. My mom has always been the dog's favorite because she's always the one that gives him treats, cookies, always takes him for the long walks. So, obviously when you lose him, it really does hurt deep inside, and it sucks really.
Do you think that in your locker room, and it doesn't matter whether it's the Leafs or any other team, although the Leafs are a really forward-thinking organization. I know that I met a person who was a psychiatrist who works with the Leafs, and you can actually go to her without telling management. I'm assuming that you haven't necessarily needed that, but are you aware of the fact that you have access to someone that your boss isn't going to know that you're reaching out to?
Yeah, no, it's that is actually a really great thing with the Leafs and what they brought in. I think it was 2 years ago they brought that in, and I remember I think that was right kind of when Kyle took over the general manager spot, and he kind of came in and told us, "Hey guys, we'll have someone here constantly, or someone that you can call that will always be there to answer the phone for anything with mental health." And after every year, we always sit down with her and talk to her for about 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and just kind of go over everything, what we like to try and bring into the next year, improve on and everything. And then, you can always call her too. So it's remarkable bringing that in. I think it will help, and it does help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's so forward thinking because let's face it, there's a huge stigma around mental illness, and if you're in a dressing room and you believe this stigma that mental illness is kind of a reflection of a weakness, you're not going to tell anyone, and certainly you don't want your boss to find out, and that's why having access to somebody like that without being alerting the whole organization is that's huge, man.
Yeah, no, it's such a smart move from the Leafs standpoint and our standpoint. Like I said, everyone really loves it. It's awesome that we have someone there to talk to. It's scary. You never know really what someone's going through. So, it's great that we're encouraging the regardless of your age, you're always going through something. And if you ever need to talk to someone, that there's someone on that line to call. So.
That's awesome, man. Let's as we wrap this up. So that note, that the handwritten note, which people were skeptical, was that really his handwriting? But the signature was clearly your signature, and the reason why I say that is that no one would ever imitate a signature that looked like that. It's actually worse than my signature. So I don't know if you take that as an insult or a compliment, but it's like, oh my gosh, because you sign your name a lot.
Yeah, no, that's that. So I remember I got drafted to London and I did not have a signature. And I remember in grade 10, because that's when everyone's draft year is, I was at the Hill Academy, which I think you're familiar with. And I remember I was in class, and all the hockey guys were kind of doing autographs and signatures and making their signature for whatever reason. And I really never did. And I ended up going to London in the draft. And I went there, and I thought that no one would really notice me or anything like that. I went there first game. They're in the playoffs. Can't remember who they were playing, but I think they're in like the Eastern Conference Final. And I went there, and a little girl came up to me and said, "Hey, I know who you are. Can I get your signature?" And I was like, "Sure." And I literally wrote my name just how I just said Mitchell Marner. Like I tried to like make it fancy. And I was like, I remember later that night we like went to celebrate as a family. So we went to the keg. And I remember I was like sitting there for, I think it was like honestly 45 minutes with my parents trying to figure out a new signature. And we came up with a longer version of the one I do now. And now I've shortened it because, you know, obviously we have a lot of team signings and stuff like that. And you got to kind of ramble through a couple. So that's now what it's turned into. And it is what it is.
That's awesome. You know, when I sign my name, I'm dyslexic, right? So I get the letters in the wrong order. And the most I'm tough to embarrass, but the most embarrassing thing in my life is if some kid says, "Hey, will you sign this for me?" And I write, you know, I used to write, "Keep watching Off the Record" or whatever. And I would get the letters in the wrong order. So I'd have to scratch it out. You know how embarrassing that is to a kid, like when you're scratching it out? Except I should tell you this, at a Leaf game with my son, some guy comes up to me and says, "Can you sign my jersey?" So I say, "It's a Habs jersey. Why would I sign it?" He goes, "Just sign it." So I say, "Okay, I'm going to sign it." So I write "Go Leafs Go" on the back and then sign it. And then I wrote "Habs Suck." He goes, "What'd you sign?" And I said, "Oh, you know, Go Habs Go" or something. It was one of my finest moments.
That is a good moment. That's until he turns around and he sees that.
I was gone by then.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's great.
Thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for doing everything that you do. But in particular, you know, mental health has this stigma. And when a guy who has fame and has success, and especially in a sport that calls for ruggedness, comes out and says, "Hey, you know, like I got no problem. I got no problem talking about it." It's a huge deal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. This has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, Zeus just got a little closer to me now too. He's just sitting right there. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, like I said, it's a tough time for everyone. Everyone's going through this together. I think the most important thing is knowing you're never alone in whatever you're fighting or whatever you're doing. So anyone who's out there struggling with anything, there's always someone to call, talk to, and, you know, don't be ever afraid to do it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yes, thank you.
When he says there's always someone to talk to, I mean, one of the charities that he has participated in, that he's fronted in the last while, is Kids Help Phone. And that's massive, right? Because when Mitch Marner, who has, you know, so many young people who look at him and say, "Wow, you know, I wish I could do that. I wish I was Mitch Marner." And he reaches out and says, "You know, like you, I'm really scared during this COVID crisis. I'm really scared about, you know, what the future holds for me and for my career and for my family." When he says that, it has a lot of impact. And, you know, I told him before we talked, I said, you know, it really is just about one thing. It's about sharing. It's the only thing that you can really do. If you're not a doctor, if you're not a psychologist, if you don't have a magical cure, the only thing you can do is to share your stories. And that's one of the things that we try to do on this show. And then every day on Sick Not Weak. And to help us do exactly what I just said, speaking of sharing stories, Cory Dixon is an actor, mental health advocate who has been through hell. But like Winston Churchill once said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Hey, Cory, how are you?
Not bad. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks for doing this. So why don't I ask you a weird question, but let's go with it. Why did you want to be on the show? What is your message? Why do you want to reach out to people?
I think the biggest thing is to share mental health as if it was a conversation. I think it's hard to get past that barrier to be able to share your story. It was hard for me to be able to get past that barrier to share your story. And I think that the more people that do share their stories, and the more it becomes natural to talk about mental illness and mental health, I think it's a huge thing. And, just following Sick Not Weak even on Twitter and just seeing all the stuff you guys post, I was like, I have to get involved with this and talk with Michael.
Okay, so why don't we go back and look at your history? When was mental health, mental illness? I'm never quite sure how to refer to it. Is it mental health? Well, if there was only mental health, then we wouldn't be talking about it. Nevertheless, when did you first experience whatever you would refer to it as?
So, I had anxiety at a very young age, like a very mild version of it. I would say it didn't really, depression and anxiety really didn't hit me hard until I was getting bullied in high school and teased and whatnot in high school. And then at the age of 16, I was diagnosed with a heart condition. And then it kind of increased from there. So it was kind of like stepping stones, kind of built up over time. And then 4 years ago, I had a massive trauma that basically changed my life.
Now, you told me without, it's not that you don't share the story, of course you do, but there's only a certain amount of time. But the bottom line was that you fell from how high?
I dropped off a 50-foot cliff. I ruptured my aorta. I had a major spinal damage. Didn't think I was going to be able to walk again. I had a massive brain bleed. I was in ICU on life support for 2 weeks. I was hospitalized for over a year, transferred to like 4 different hospitals.
Wow. I can't even imagine. And I can't even imagine what that was like for the people that love you as well. Just such a toll it must have taken. So now let's try to get into your head, outside of the physical changes in your head, like the brain bleed that you mentioned. What was your mental health like from the point that you woke up? Because you said you were in a coma for a couple of weeks. From the point you woke up, take us through the next year and what was going on in your head.
Oh, it was an emotional journey, and still is, like, looking back on it. But I would say that from the first little while waking up, I was still trying to gather my thoughts and trying to piece together things. I was thinking very negatively to begin with, because it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to walk again. I was very miserable, very depressed, very angry, at myself, and just for whatever reason, and just angry at the fact that this had happened to me. And yeah, I wasn't happy overall. But I would say, like, as I went on the journey of almost accepting the fact that I wasn't going to be able to walk again, because I was in a wheelchair for a very long time. And I went down to Toronto, Lyndhurst Spinal Cord Rehab, and I spent a good amount of time there doing rehab, still in a wheelchair. And then, it kind of like hit me that, oh, well, this is going to be my life now. I'm going to make the most of it. Still sad, obviously, but I was trying to get myself more uplifted. And I managed to, push through things and be able to get to that point, but it was definitely not an easy journey. I remember, like, nights in the hospital just bawling my eyes out, and, they would bring, like, therapy dogs for me to, like, pet and whatnot, just to kind of take my mind off of things. I saw a lot of death, like being in hospital and acute care like that, you're going to have patients around you that are very sick as well. And unfortunately, I saw a lot of death, which was not something you want to see. It's weird to say it, but I almost got used to seeing it. The patients coding left, right, and center. So, it was quite the emotional journey for sure.
So where are you today? You just gave us a glimpse inside your head before your accident, the trauma, as you said it, and afterwards in the ensuing rehab that you did. First of all, you're walking, correct?
I am walking, yes. It's a less than miracle. I my spinal cord doctor literally like looked at me when I did a follow-up and had no idea how it was possible that I was walking with the severe damage that I had to my spinal cord. Yeah, I have very severe back pain and stuff like that. But I am walking.
So, when did you start acting?
So I started acting at the age of 5. I started off in theater, doing like Broadway style theater performances across Ontario. And then my parents actually made the decision to throw me into an agency. And then I started off doing like print ads and stuff like that, kind of worked my way up the scale, did commercials. And then I got a few decent television roles. And now I'm working on a series with Calix, who's an awesome director. It's called The Injustices. And we did the pre-screening, actually. We did the 2 pilot episodes at a cinema in downtown Toronto, and we got some really good feedback from it. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay, well, so where are you at mentally now? You've told us about the downs. Are you in really good position? Do you still have bad days? Are you bad all the time in terms of mental health? Where are you at?
Yeah, I would say it's like a roller coaster. I'd say with mental health, there's no magic pill for it. I think it comes a lot down to being able to cope with it. And I do see an ongoing therapist, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I would say that I get depressed big time. There's days where I don't want to leave my bed. I do get panic attacks. My mental health is a very real thing. And, I think people need to also look at it. It is truly a physical illness. Right. People say it's just your head or whatever. Well, when I get a panic attack, it increases my heart rate. Now it's a physical issue, right? The brain's the control panel for everything. So why is it not looked at as more physical, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I was thinking about that when you said that you had a brain bleed. I was thinking, okay, well, that is a physical injury and a physical, not illness, but an injury to your brain, which they can see, right? They do an MRI or a CAT scan, or they do surgery, they can see it. But no one can ever see, depression, what it looks like in your brain. And as a result, I think people are really skeptical about how real it is. Like if you could show them, a picture of your brain where you say, you see this area here? That's my depression. You see this area on your brain? It doesn't look the same as mine. If we could do that, I think the world would see it differently.
Absolutely. And a matter of fact, there's a lot of people that have depression and you can't even tell. Like they're happy, they're outgoing. And then you pull them aside, you ask how they're doing, and they're not doing great. And that's the reality of mental health and mental illness, is that, you have people that can't show it, or they're scared to talk about it because they don't want to be
right.
judged, or they don't want to lose their career over it. They don't want to lose a job over it. Right.
Do you feel like your mental health, when you're having a good day as opposed to a bad day, that your performance changes? And there's a follow-up to that, which is, do you believe that it changes in your head, but no one else could notice it? Or do you believe that it's obvious for the rest of the world?
Oof. I definitely think it affects performance. On my days that I'm, more depressed or more, more anxious about things, it can be obvious at times. I've been at events for, different screenings and stuff like that. I've been pulled aside and say, hey, Corey, you need to take some deep breaths or whatever, right? And calm yourself down, because they can see like just my body language that I'm starting to get a bit anxious. Sometimes I don't even realize it. It's almost like subconscious. I'll start to go into a panic attack, or, I'll start to get really, really depressed and sad. And sometimes it does take someone else to point it out to me and say, hey, what's up? You're not looking too good. And then I'm like, it's like they've noticed. And then, that's when you get into the deep conversations and stuff like that, which I don't mind having. I think, like I said before, I think conversation is a big thing when it comes to both mental illness and mental health. I think we have to be open about it.
Yeah, I'm going to be as I always try to be as candid and open as I can be. When someone says to me, "Hey, Michael, you don't seem like yourself. You're not good, are you?" And my wife says that to me, and it's different than if I heard it from someone else. And I hate hearing that, man. It devastates me when I hear that, because it's like it makes my illness more real when other people can notice it. And I've never gotten used to somebody saying to me, you don't seem like yourself.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, it definitely doesn't make you feel the best, but I think at the same time, it almost kind of makes you realize that you have to learn some new coping methods, or you got to put your coping methods that you've learned through either therapy or whatever into play. And that's what I try to do. Is anytime I find myself sinking off into an episode, I try to remember what my therapist told me and try to use those skills to be able to get myself back to as normal as I can be, right?
I'm going to ask you some quick questions, which actually isn't the point. The point is the quick answers. How do you feel today? Quickly, don't think about it, just answer.
I feel relatively okay.
Okay, what does that mean, relatively okay? Because that's mental health jargon when you don't really want to say what you're actually feeling.
Yeah, I think like there's parts of me that I'm obviously really happy to be here talking with you and sharing my story and stuff like that. But at the same time, at the back of my head, there's always those moments that I've had that have made me depressed that kind of sticks with you. But I feel okay today. Like I'm not overly depressed. I'm not overly happy either, but I'm kind of like neutral. I'm calm.
Right. When was the last time you felt really good?
I would have to say the screening of our Injustices series that we've been working on. We've been working very hard on that, and the entertainment industry is a huge passion of mine. So I think that was the last time that I was like genuinely super ecstatic to the roof happy.
And how long ago was that?
That was just before Christmas last year that we had the screening, and it was cool. We had the actual creators of Degrassi there. We had a bunch of representatives, industry representatives. They all gave like really awesome feedback. We actually had Jeffrey Reddick, who is the creator and director of the Final Destination franchise, which is, I love horror movies. So I was like, holy cow. He actually said that he really liked it. He saw, Calix emailed him a copy of the screening and he watched the whole thing and he said that he really enjoyed it. So to get that feedback from people that I look up to is pretty cool.
Right. I mean, it is really cool. It seems to me like it's challenging for you to feel, like really great, that something really great has to happen to feel really great. And to me, like in a lot of ways, I think that's what mental illness is your inability to feel your surroundings and your inability to get a large amount of joy from something really small. And when I feel good, I get that, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, like I call it the basic joy test. We all have things in our life that bring us basic joy when we're healthy. And for me, cup of coffee in the morning, that first sip, love that. So when I feel good, I go, oh, that was kind of nice. It's not like I'm giggling, but when I'm not, it doesn't taste like anything to me.
Yeah, of course. And one thing I like to say too is I've had like friends over, for example, and you still sometimes feel that alone feeling, even though you're not alone. I mean, sorry that you got your friend, and your friend's there, but you still kind of feel alone. And I think that's the bad thing about depression is that can't find words for it. It's just.
You know what? I got words for you because that's all I have. I think that was a Bread song. David Gates sang it. Words are all I have. I'll just leave it at that because it would sound really weird if I continued with that. But, I have like little sayings that I try to use because they're portable. right? And if someone thinks, oh, you know what he said made sense, if you can carry something with you, and to apply to what you just said, loneliness is not about the number of people around you. It's the number of people that understand you. And when you're in a room, no matter how many people are in that room, if there's nobody that you've ever shared your own experience and heard that they understand you and they've been through it as well, you feel like you're all alone.
Yeah, no, it's very, very, very true. And I think it's like I could maybe count 3 of my close friends that really do understand me, understand the whole mental illness side of things, and fully understand it. And like you just said, it's like it's really important to have that you have those people that do understand you. So it what that.
Here's a question for you, Corey. Can the character that you are playing affect your mental health?
You know what? That's actually funny you say that, because I guess in a way it could, because I like with the Injustices, I had to put myself in some really dark shoes there. And my character in that series is dark, and right. So I did have to purposely make myself upset for certain scenes. And I thought about my service dog that passed away. I thought about stuff like that to get me into that mood. So I would agree. Yeah, it could definitely affect your mental health. It could make you very sad at moments.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's a weird thing that you have to do, is you have to search for sadness, and no one in regular non-acting life would ever search for sadness. I mean, we try to hide from sadness, right?
Yeah.
And to have to call upon it is, something that hopefully it's temporary, right? Someone goes cut and you go, okay, I'm back to being happy now, but life doesn't always work that way. So what's the dream role for you?
Sorry, what was that? You cut out there.
What's the dream role for you?
Dream role. Okay, yeah. So I've always loved horror movies, always. Huge horror movie fan. I would be ecstatic to act in a movie like the Insidious franchise or The Conjuring, or any of those paranormal type movies. I love them to death, and I really admire all the work of what the directors and producers behind those projects. So if I had any opportunity to act in a movie like that, that'd be great.
Can you scream?
Yeah.
Can you get a really scared look on your face? Or maybe you want to play the villain, where the villain is never scared. The villain is always super cocky. Like, I'm going to kill you and you can't do anything to me. So which one would you rather play, the scared person or the villain?
I mean, they both have their pros and cons. They both have like their fun moments. So it's kind of hard to choose.
Okay. Look to your left. Look to your left. Look to your left, and oh my God, your nemesis, this thing that you fear the most, just walked in. React.
Oh.
I love that little noise that came out there.
That's the most like on the spot acting I think I've ever done.
Yeah, that was great. And your shirt says, I just see Conquer. I'm going to make the assumption it's Conquer COVID-19, which is this amazing initiative that visible people like yourself have taken it upon themselves to try to get people to donate either protective equipment or money. And it's made a huge difference.
Yes, and the interesting thing about that, so I have a lot of friends and family that are in the healthcare system. I have a lot of friends that are paramedics. And a lot of people don't know this, but believe it or not, I am a part-time first responder myself. So I do event medical, and I'm also part of a volunteer program with Peel Regional Paramedics called their Community Responder Program, where we have AEDs and stuff, and we get a ping to our phone to let us know when there's the nearest cardiac arrest, and we can respond to that and treat them and help paramedics when they arrive as well.
Wow. That you just, I wish I would have asked you that question before, because I would have followed it up. But next time we will do that. You're an amazing guy, and what a pleasure to talk to you and to hear about your career and to hear a story of a guy, virtually knocking on death's door. And fortunately, death didn't answer. And here you are, not only, doing the things that you want to do, but using your story to make a difference to others. So you're pretty awesome, Cord.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having me. And honestly, I always try my best to help other people. You know, I tweet it out and just be like, you could DM me anytime you want. So my DMs are always open for people that want to talk. I'm there.
I've seen you say that lots of times. So I will DM you, and I'll well, I guess I could wrap up the ass kissing here. I just, when I like people and I respect them, sometimes I get a little carried away. So I'm going to zip it up. And now this time, look to your right. And here comes the same alien monster that you thought was dead, but he has come back to life. Take a look to your right. And he's gone. Good move. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me.
That's Cory Dixon, whose story is just amazing from so many aspects, and just the thought of where he was, falling off a cliff 50 feet down and being in that position and having it really overcome your life is a pretty amazing thing. But what I walk away with from that is, besides the strength of the human being, is the idea that he was diagnosed with injuries to his brain, which no one would have doubted. No one would have said, that brain bleed you got, I'm just wondering whether or not you're not blowing it up a little bit, or maybe you got to suck it up a little bit and deal with that brain bleed. That would never happen. But when it comes to mental health, we hear that all the time because we can't show it. There is no way to prove that you have this mental health challenge. And that is devastating for people. And that is at the heart of the stigma. So what I'm saying is that you need to talk to people. If you're struggling, you need to get to the point where you can share it like I share it, which is, hey, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. And if you don't believe me, I'm okay with that, because I don't care, because I know what this is. And more importantly, because there's way more people out there who don't struggle but care about someone who struggles, you owe it to them to say to them, I don't understand what you're going through. This is Isolation Nation, part of Sick Not Weak, and I leave you with these thoughts. Sometimes I can appear joyous, but be joyless. I can appear relaxed, but be panicked. I can appear in control, but be out of control. I can help others, but not myself. I can make others smile, but not me. And I can always love others, but I can't always love myself. That, in a lot of ways, is what we go through. Thanks, by the way, to Jansen for saying to us, you know what, here's some money, go and use it wisely, make a difference. We hope we did, and we hope we can do so tomorrow. See you on Isolation Nation. By the way, as we wrap this up, some of the stuff that didn't make it into the show. Roll it, Phil. Okay, so let's have some fun with the dogs. Yeah, I'm hoping that he's going to jump up. It's not like I'm putting incentive on the table, but yeah, there is.
Yeah, Zeus is now too big to get held. I picked him up yesterday, and I was almost threw my back out. So
Riggs, it's Mitch. Forget about Mitch. It's Zeus.
Yeah, Riggs is like, what are those cookies?
Yeah.
I don't want Mitch.
Yeah, come on, go for it, boy. Okay, well, I guess he didn't want to look like a pig. Whoa, he's coming around to this side.
Oh, good boy. Hey, good boy.
He rolls over, for God's sakes. Oh my God, Riggs. Okay, Riggs, sit. Watch this. You're going to be blown away. He's going to sit. Riggs, sit. Sit. Shut up, Mitch. Stop laughing. There, he's sitting. Good boy.
There we go.
There we go.